Workforce reductions continue with Dell slashing staffing. What might be the second largest data leak in history, and you probably never heard of the company behind it. And are we experiencing subscription fatigue? All this and more on the low monthly payment edition of #Trending. I'm your host, Jim Love. Let's get into it. Dell is making headlines with a new round of layoffs as the tech giant aims to streamline its operations and focus on modern IT and AI. The company has confirmed the job cuts, describing it as part of a reorganization to become a leaner company. While Dell hasn't disclosed the exact number of affected employees, estimates suggest it could be around 10% of the entire workforce, potentially 12,500 people. This aligns with Dell's reported goal of reducing its total headcount from 120,000 to below 100,000. The layoffs appear to be hitting even long-time employees, with many turning to social media and online forums to share their experiences. There were so many cuts that at one point there weren't enough HR staff to handle them, forcing supervisors to do the task. As one employee noted, there are only so many HR reps to go around. Dell's president of global sales and customer operations, Bill Scannell, stated in a memo that the company aims to grow faster than the market by unlocking the value of modern IT and AI for customers. This move comes just a week after Intel announced its own significant job cuts, signaling the turbulence in the tech industry may not be over yet. Intel reportedly lost about 15% of its workforce, but the company has also significantly fallen behind its competition in product development and quality. Maybe Dell will have a better experience shrinking itself to greatness. Curiously, as we move into the second half of 2024, a recent Robert Half survey pointed out that 94% of managers report challenges in finding skilled talent, especially in high-demand areas like AI, machine learning, cloud architecture, security, and database engineering. Robert Half's latest report highlights the top strategic priorities for tech teams this year. Topping the list are systems and information security, followed closely by AI, machine learning, and automation. Cloud initiatives and digital transformation also remain key focus areas. When it comes to the most in-demand roles, we're seeing a mix of technical and managerial positions. Software developers and engineers are still hot commodities, but there's also high demand for business systems analysts, IT directors, and project managers in the technology sector. Interestingly, help desk Tier 1 positions are also among the most sought-after roles, suggesting a continued need for strong IT support in our increasingly digital workspace. This continues one of the great paradoxes of our time: continuing layoffs and staff reductions with equally a continuing challenge of finding good IT talent. You think maybe somebody could figure out something like retraining or upskilling? Just a thought. One of the largest data breaches in history has potentially exposed the personal information of 2.9 billion individuals. Background check company National Public Data, also known as Jericho Pictures, is facing a class action lawsuit over this massive leak. The company reportedly uses scraping to collect sensitive data from non-public sources, including social security numbers, full names, addresses, and information about relatives. Alarmingly, much of this data was gathered without the individual's knowledge or consent. The breach came to light when a plaintiff, Christopher Hoffman, was alerted that his information had been leaked onto the dark web. A cybercriminal group called ASDOD is now offering the database for sale at $3.5 million. The lawsuit accuses National Public Data of negligence and seeks both financial compensation and improved security measures. These include annual third-party cybersecurity assessments for a decade, data segmentation, and encryption of all collected information going forward. And if confirmed, this breach would rival the infamous 2013 Yahoo incident for the record as the largest data breach of all time. As investigations continue, this case underscores the urgent need for stricter data protection regulations and highlights the risk of large-scale data collection without transparency. Logitech and their new CEO have quickly backpedaled on the idea of a subscription-based or forever mouse with ongoing fees. This came after they reportedly faced a significant backlash. This concept, mentioned by CEO Hanneke Faber in a recent podcast interview, described a high-quality mouse that could last as long as a good watch with continuous software updates. Faber had suggested this could potentially involve a subscription model. However, following widespread criticism, Logitech's head of communications, Nicole Kenyon, issued a statement clarifying there are no plans for a subscription mouse. The company now describes the concept as merely provocative internal thinking on future possibilities for more sustainable consumer electronics. In other words, everybody hated it. The rapid reversal makes you wonder if there's a growing consumer fatigue with subscription-based models. While everything as a service was hailed as the way of the future, there are signs we're growing tired of this model. Everything as a subscription might be an attractive revenue source, but we are all getting inundated with a growing number of small monthly payments. And while on an individual basis, each of these is relatively small, they add up so much that when you get your credit card bill at the end of the month, many people are amazed at how much they've spent. And it doesn't make it any easier that many of these companies offer a free trial period where they bill you at the end if you don't cancel. Some, like Google, it turns out, make it really difficult to cancel. I recently signed up for a trial of corporate Gmail with Google's new Gemini AI. And when I went back to cancel, it took me over an hour to find the hidden menu where you could stop the trial. It's not in the help menu. I actually had to Google it and track down how to cancel. It's buried in another menu deep within another menu. I rarely sign up anymore for trials that want your credit card. I figure if your product is that good, I'll subscribe at the end when you tell me my trial is over and if I'm still using the service. Isn't that what a trial is about? So in the midst of this frustration, we all might be getting a little upset. And you have to ask if this is going to bode well for the large number of AI offerings that are starting out free and probably justly, given the cost of AI processing, are going to try to turn into monthly subscription fees. But making it hard to cancel on these free trials isn't the only reason we resent subscription fees. There are the increases once they have you hooked. Disney is raising their subscription fees this month. Netflix raised their fees a while ago. And then they've also added advertising, the thing we were paying subscription fees to avoid. That's on the consumer side. I sat at a table a year ago where various CIOs were discussing the increases in their software subscriptions, ranging from 7% to as high as 35%. Really difficult to explain to your management that your operating costs are going up not because you bought something new, but for the same software you had last year. Remember the one that was going to save you money with the subscription model? And once again, we haven't really processed the added cost of new AI systems for corporations. Again, SaaS seemed like a trivial cost until you have a lot of people and they add extra charges. We got used to paying for Office 365 on a monthly basis or Google's Office equivalent. Now, if you want to add the AI features, there's another $20 a month per user as a starting point. It makes you wonder what will happen if true fatigue sets in and people stop buying, or worse, if people stop buying and start finding that hidden cancellation button. Will there be an eventual revolt when they'll hate software the way we all hate cell phone companies and their monthly charges? Maybe. In this case, at least, it turns out that the amount of backpedaling Logitech had to do for a seemingly harmless interview with their new CEO, even the suggestion of a subscription fee for a common peripheral like a mouse, is a step too far for many of us. And that's our show for today. You can find our show notes at our news site, technewsday.com or .ca. Thanks for listening. Remember, we don't have a Friday morning podcast in the summer, but we will have a really cool interview for the weekend edition. I'm your host, Jim Love. Have a thrilling Thursday.